Harri Georgio, how are you doing? We're here at the Vic Inn in Derby. You're from Leicester. How's it going?
Yeah, based in Leicester, just jumped on the train. It's not too far, but yeah, glad to be here and thanks for having us, man.
No problem at all. I thank you for joining me.
No problem.
Now, I want to get to know you a little bit. So, when did it all start with Harri Georgio's music career?
A while back, I've been doing this for a while and had a lot of phases growing up and stuff in music, but I think once I turned 11, 12, I knew I kind of wanted to do music. I think it started out getting a guitar for my birthday or something when I was about 10, and around that time it's when it was Limp Bizkit and Papa Roach and all that stuff was popping off, all the new metal, and that's the first music I ever got into, even a bit of Marilyn Manson and stuff like that. And I think there and then I was knew that I wanted to be a performer and stuff, I'd be performing in the mirror or that kind of thing, and I think just in my head my mind was made up. And then kind of you faff around, you're just a kid at that age or whatever, and then a couple of years went by and then Eminem starts blowing up and all that stuff. Or I at least started getting into it, and I just turned my back on all the guitar music that I was into, and I just became an Eminem wannabe. And then I was right, I want to rap now and stuff. And so that sort of opened my eyes to the rap side of stuff, and I become very inspired by that. It was the Marshall Mathers LP, and I remember I literally, it sounds a bit crazy, but I think I went to sleep with the booklet and would read the booklet at night. And you'd have the album booklets with all the credits and the cool photos and stuff, and I just kind of became obsessed. And then so I started rapping, and obviously it sounded a bit cheesy, like a kid trying to be Eminem. Then we had Dizzy Rascal and Kano and all that stuff, UK rap music that was kind of cut like grime. And I started doing that, and then I started recording songs. And I'd record tracks, and people would Bluetooth them around at school and stuff like that. So then I got into kind of being an MC. Did that for a little bit, and I had little bits of success as an MC for the age that I was. I was MC of the year and stuff in my region, and nice. DEE gave me an award and all that stuff, and that was cool. And I think before Skepta had properly blew up and it was Boy Better Know, we'd done a bunch of opening slots for them at festivals via the youth centre in Stoke. So, and at this stage I'm it's around from 15 to 17.
Wow.
Just out there MCing and trying to get in the grime scene and all that. Then I got a bit older and I went to uni, and then all my roots of liking guitar music and all that came back, and it was a melting pot university. So when I got to university, everyone was sort of all from different backgrounds, and that's when I ended up meeting two of my good friends now, Scott and Rob, a band called Tribal Riot, and I joined their band for a little bit, and that was kind of a bit like the Prodigy. It was a mix of dance music and rock with a bit of rap in there. And they were based in London, and I started gigging with them in London, and that really got me into the band world. And we did that for a little bit. It didn't end up working out, but they're still doing their thing, I'm doing my thing, we're still really good friends. And not long after that, graduated from university and was a bit lost in life because I realised, oh shit, I don't know how I'm going to make any money now. Obviously you get your uni grants and all that stuff that keeps you going. So when I got to that point, I was a bit stuck, and then I ended up getting offered, it was work experience at a recording studio. That was HQ Recording Studio, big up Yasin. And he basically hired me. As a producer and engineer, and then I started working there and making my living doing that kind of work. And then as that was going on, I think we ended up talking about maybe we need a label and all this stuff. And then a bit later down the line, I'm really going fast through this timeline to not go on, but we ended up making a label, and then Yasin ended up kind of becoming my artist manager, and I kept kind of adding to my sound changed, this and that. And yeah, so Yasin became my manager. We started doing gigs around Leicester and that kind of thing, and building up a fan base. And then I ended up putting a band together for the music that I do now. I think we put the band together. I started putting a band together maybe, I think 5 years, maybe like 2019. Okay. I started getting a lot of support from BBC Introducing. Big up Dean Jackson and BBC Introducing in the East Midlands. And he basically was like, look, I want to put you forward for festivals, but you don't have a band. There's only so far you can go doing what you're doing now, because I was still singing over backing tracks and all that. So I was like, right, I need a band. So I ended up, just by chance, I ended up moving in with my guitarist, Matt Borry. And one day I just had this gig that I needed a guitarist for, and I was like, Matt, would you be up for doing something? And he was like, yeah. It worked straight away. It sounds like cliche, but it just clicked.
Yeah.
So once I had Matt and we were like working together, like almost like a duo, then I ended up getting some more members and then created a band, and then the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope that like narrows it down.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, I feel like I know you so well now. I was going to ask, you did that producing and stuff in your job and stuff like that. How has that helped you now as a musician?
It helps and works against me, if I'm completely honest with you. Because you ever heard of like, sometimes when you have strengths and then you learn other things, it can weaken the strengths. But not to be like pessimistic about it, it's helped me a hell of a lot being a producer. And I do both. So I do production and sort of writing and vocals and performing. They're all kind of intertwined in the way I do things. But being a producer, it helps you understand sound. It helps you understand sounds and understand what you're hearing, and it also, I guess, saves you a bit of money on like production fees and engineering fees. Like a lot of the way I record myself is just, I record at the studio I work at, HQ, most of my stuff, but I tend to, I collaborate with a lot of people, but when I do final vocals, sometimes it's a matter of like clicking record, then running into the booth, and I can take as long as I want.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's great that I can get things perfect, but sometimes having all the time in the world can work against you.
Oh yeah, you're always going to be your worst critique, you know.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
Oh no, definitely, yeah. And you said, you were doing your stuff solo. What is it like being, I know you're still like Harri Georgio, but what is it like being a solo artist compared to an artist that is in a band? You've got people around you as well. What is the actual difference between the both?
Well, it's kind of an interesting question, because I kind of am a solo artist and a band. And the only reason is because when I put the band together, I was already sort of doing my thing as Harri Georgio, and it was a little bit of it would have been a massive step back to try and create a new band name and stuff. And also just from my experience, relying on people in the past, sometimes when you have a band, there's a little bit too many opinions, and sometimes you have to really rely on people. Yeah. And over the years, I just thought, I don't want to have to ever rely on someone. At least I can just blame myself for if something goes right or wrong or whatever. So that's how I ended up being a solo artist, then bringing my band on later down the line. And yeah, it's being in a band, I guess. It's kind of totally different in a way, and again, it's a double-edged sword, because if you're in a band, say there's 4 or 5 people in a band, they can all pull their funds together, they can all pull their contacts together. Say you're trying to sell out a show, if there's 5 of you inviting all your friends and family, you could sell out a little venue even up and coming.
It's true, yeah.
Whereas if you're one artist, for example, if you have a band, you may have to pay the band as session musicians. It's all kind of on you.
Yeah.
But then again, you make the decisions. So if you're in a band, think like it's like who's in charge, who makes the final decision.
Yeah.
I want to do this, I don't want to do this, I like this, I don't like that. It can be quite chaotic. And there's a lot of bands break up. It doesn't end up working out.
Yeah.
Because there's almost like, I hate to use this word, but there's no sort of hierarchy within. Everyone's pulling from different directions. So the way I do it is my band and my live show, it's its own entity, and everyone's opinion is equal kind of thing, but there's certain things that I just have the final say on, which just makes it easier. So I'll come and do interviews like this.
Yeah.
I'll kind of fund a lot of the music and have some of the initial creative ideas. Then I bring it to the band, and kind of it all works strategically.
Yeah.
And kind of everyone's happy. I don't have to keep bugging them about certain things. Even like coming to this interview today, say a couple of the members are at work, and it's like, right, which one's going to come and do the interview? I can just say, yes, I'm free today, I can come. Yeah. So there's positives and negatives to both of them, if that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And you're still Harri Georgio, so people still know you as Harri Georgio.
Yeah.
Even though you have that band behind you, you're still that amazing solo artist in a sense as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
I appreciate that, by the way. I'm just like, yeah.
Throughout all that time, what has kept you so motivated to just keep making music and keep going?
It's hard. I think any artist or anyone in the creative world doing any kind of freelance work will know how hard it is. And I don't always stay motivated. You'll know yourself starting this channel and that it's difficult, man.
It's true, yeah.
It's hard to stay motivated, but to be honest, I'm just too far in it to turn back now. Even if I wanted to, I'm too far in it. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of all I know at this point. So this might be bad advice, but just don't have a plan B. I ain't, because you can always monetize your skills. You know, if you get to a point, if you get good at something, as long as you start creating different incomes and stuff like that, you can monetize it. So once you start having a plan B or doubting yourself, you're already opening the door for potential failing at whatever you plan to do. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Definitely. I wouldn't say it's bad advice. I mean, a lot of people, you know, they say completely different things when I ask them that question. I think, you know, the fact that you can just accept that this is what you're going to do. You know, this is, you know, right now, this is all you want to do in the future, really. If you can accept that, I mean, like you said, if you're thinking, well, it is what I want to do, but I could do this as well, I could do that instead, then you're not focusing on that one thing either. You know, you're thinking of, well, it could fail. What is your goal? What is your dream as a musician?
Big question.
Very
it's
big question.
I've done this a while, like 10 years plus anyway, and I kind of feel like it's sort of everything I'm doing, but just way bigger and better. You know, it's like, you know, the concept of like making it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially like older family and stuff. Like I'm Greek Cypriot, and a lot of the background, my grandparents, they don't understand what being a musician is in this day and age. They kind of get it now because my nan has Facebook, so she sort of gets it. But I think people think when you've whatever making it is, that you're going to just roll up in an expensive car and be like this celebrity, and it's like, it don't work like that. You're chipping away, you're constantly just growing and chipping away. So even just being able to make a living and sustain yourself from your art is already a great goal to have. Like I'm very ambitious and I kind of want it all, but I'm quite modest and patient with it. So at the moment I release music and I play shows, and even when I get to what I want to be doing, I'm still going to be releasing music and playing shows, but maybe the shows are at a whole bigger scale. Maybe the music has a way bigger budget and has way more streams and everything bigger and better, and I just want to keep growing and become the best I can be. Like, it's really easy to compare yourself to other people. Like, I'm in competition with myself, and I just want to be the best version of myself I can possibly be in music. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
You never stop improving. You're always looking for that next level, that next stage as a musician.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if you do, you know, you could have this big dream of, I want to play Glastonbury, and so many people say that. That's amazing. Yeah. But it's almost like, how are you going to get there? You know, you have to take those steps, and if you don't keep bettering yourself and bettering yourself and bettering yourself, you can't skip from A to B.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. I want to say, you know, obviously we had a bit of your like storyline at the start.
Yeah.
You dabbled in a lot of different genres, a lot of different things. You mentioned rap, you mentioned some pop, some rock, literally everything apart from like jazz. So now your sound in 2024, it does kind of tie together a lot of them things.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, I've heard some songs, your newest song, Bad Habits. I hear a bit of drum and bass in that, a bit of electronic. Tell me about Bad Habits.
Bad Habits, sort of in a nutshell, it really does encompass a lot of my influences, if you know what I mean. It's where do I even start with this song? It's you mentioned drum and bass.
Yeah.
It was at the time when I started getting the ideas together for it, because I do work with collaborators. I'm not like a one-man army at all.
Yeah.
I've got like HQ Recording Studio, the band, the Well Behaved Young Men, and different engineers I work with and stuff like that. But initially I'll tend to come up with the seed of an idea, and I was listening to a lot of indie at the time. I was actually listening to a lot of, like, you know, the Ratons.
Oh yeah, the Ratons.
And I was listening to a lot of that, and it was in a weird crossroads in my sound. It was going less poppy and a little more edgy and rocky. And I feel like I always wanted to do that, but I just never quite got there. I never had the moment when it just clicked. And big up T.O. Soul. He's actually one of our team at the studio and has become a co-writer, one of my main co-writers for my new stuff. And he was like, look, you know, you're from Stoke and you have this kind of northern accent. He said, I listen to your music and I don't hear it. He was like, you're putting on this accent, which is sort of not, it is kind of my singing voice that comes out, but he was like, why don't you lean into this northern sort of twat? Why don't you lean into your accent?
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. And then I'm listening to bands like the Ratons and stuff, and I was like, no, I get what you mean. But I'm not just going to go and copy something. I get inspiration from things and take it with a pinch of salt, because I'm still me, but things will excite me when I get inspired. And I thought, how cool would it be to add some like drum and bass into an indie song? So there was actually like a bass guitar loop, and it proper kind of got me going. And I'd started leaning into my own accent a bit more, and I think I just started coming up with the verse. And I was about to start creating some generic rock drums. But then I looked at the tempo and I was like, if I speed this up a little bit more, I could actually add a drum and bass breakbeat in this.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think you don't hear it like drum and bass, you know, usually it's just paired with maybe a bit of rap, maybe a bit of like MCing, but you've mixed like singing with drum and bass, and you have singers with drum and bass, but it just sounds different. And obviously,
thank you.
People can go and listen to it. Bad Habits, by Harri Georgio, but
big love.
I think it's so awesome what you do. And then in some of your other songs, you can hear like reggae, and it's so cool that you can almost listen to one of your songs and another one. It's like a whole different experience, right? I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's just, I guess it's just all the things that were there in my upbringing, which have come together. And you touched on the reggae thing. It's sort of you wouldn't like maybe look at me and think reggae, but the reggae side of things, which I didn't really mention earlier, is actually from my dad. My dad and his brothers, my uncles, they're Greek Cypriot and they grew up in Birmingham, but with a lot of Caribbean friends and stuff. And their friends at school their parents would be from the Caribbean. My dad and his brothers' parents were from like Cyprus, but they all looked at each other equally. And in Birmingham, there was a huge reggae scene. There kind of still is. It's almost like the home of reggae in a way, like you in the UK.
Yeah.
Like UB40 are from there, and there's some current bands as well. But the first music I ever remember hearing as a kid was reggae. You know, like I'm talking On the Way to Nursery.
Yeah.
It was like Barrington Levy, Yellow Man, that kind of thing. So it was just always there. So the reggae that comes out in my music, some songs I've done that are full blown. I've tried it in the past, but some of the songs, that reggae sound that sort of ties some of the music together. Not so much lately, but some of my older stuff, it's just because it was there within me. You know, a lot of my family listen to reggae. It's always been there. It's
just crept out into some of your music, I guess.
It just creeps out here and there. I dip in and out a little bit. Yeah,
it's so cool.
Thank you.
What would you say? Obviously, you've probably mentioned some of the highlights because you were trying to narrow it down in that timeline. But what would you say is one of the biggest highlights in your music career so far?
Oh, that's such a tough one. Even just overall, rather than look at one thing, I'm just really, I'm really grateful and proud of like the team that I've sort of built, but I don't want to say I've built, the sort of team that has come together through what I'm doing. You know, the fact that like my band, like big up them, I don't know where I'd be like without them and their like dedication to what we do. Then HQ Recording Studio, Yasin, my manager, the collaborators I work with, just and the friendship group around that. Like, I'm really proud of what we've all kind of built together. Like, you know, a bit of an infrastructure to really chase this dream that I had when I was a kid. So I'm just proud of that, really, if I'm trying to put it in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's so cool that your music that you've made, you know, you started, you've already walked us through it, you started so young, like 11, 12 years old. You were listening to some like reggae, going to nursery, you know, everything's happened, and up until now you've got this team that's kind of came around you, you've brought this team together, that now in 2024 it's helping you grow, it's helping you get bigger, it's obviously something you love, and you've brought these people together to help create Harri Georgio.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and I'm stoked to have that around me. And even, you know, the fact that all of us are we're all freelance in the music industry, and we all find a way to make a living. And I'm even just proud to say that I make my living from music. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, even that in itself, it's quite difficult to do.
It's a big achievement. It's definitely a big achievement. I mean, so many people, I say to people, what's your dream? And they say, I just want to make a living from music. I just want to be able to do this all the time. So is this something you're literally doing all the time? Music?
Yeah, but it's all, as I say, I do a lot of stuff for other people. I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes as well. I produce for other people. I engineer other people. I mentor a little bit. I'm a project facilitator. So there's a lot of different. We do a lot of community work, but it's all centered around music and creativity. Yeah. So you've got to have multiple income streams.
Definitely. Yeah. And as a final question, what can we see from you in the next 6 months? Now, we've got a tour coming up.
Yeah,
November.
Mini tour.
Yeah, mini tour. We've got a couple of dates on there. Tell us about that and what we can see from you coming up in the next 6 months.
Sure. So obviously just dropped the new single, Bad Habits. That's actually from a new batch of music that I've been working on. As I was talking about the kind of newer sound and leaning into my own accent and that kind of stuff. Bad Habits is followed by a bunch of other songs in a similar vein. So that project will be coming out next year. I don't have a date yet, but there's a project coming. And we also have a visual for Bad Habits dropping very soon. If it's not out already when this interview drops. But yeah, so we've got that, and then I've got 2 dates. We've got Leeds and London, so it's Leeds to London. So Leeds is at Hyde Park Book Club, and London is at Amersham Arms, and they're on the Leeds is 27th of November, and London is 29th of November. And then we're sorting some dates for early next year as well.
Awesome. So people should definitely get down to that. If they're not even if they're in the area, they should just travel to it.
For sure, man. For sure. We've got a show planned, so.
And there you go. That's a lot about Harri Georgio. Keep an eye out for what he's got to come, and thanks so much, man.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers.
Appreciate it, man.